This is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Scotty alluded to the fact that Bouvet, and I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and I don't think it was a very popular thing. I didn't get a lot of feedback or pushback or anything from it. But I was a little concerned that this thing is not going to go down the way they had planned. We talked about how contingency plans work in everything, right? They are in the most remote spot on Earth, or pretty damn close to it, the most remote island on the world. And they're struggling, guys. They're struggling with the weather. They're struggling with, getting things set up, keeping a base camp going. And it seems hard. Can you tell us there was an update that came in today, Steve. I don't know if you have it handy, but maybe you can paraphrase what's happening there today. And I can pull up their page and we can take a look at it too. What do you know so far about what's going on in Bouvet, Steve?
Well, they're struggling. It's been a tough one. So in many aspects, so they're running basically only a couple of stations. They have only one generator up at the operating setup or the camp. One of the issues that the couple of issues they've run into from what I gather and can figure out is that they can't operate on the beach where they're landing. They're not even actually landing on the beach. They got a line that's tied off somewhere out on shore, and then there's a buoy that is maybe 15 meters offshore that the Zodiac boat ties up to, or they tie up to. Then the team members get in the water. They're wearing their survival suits, and then they got to kind of tread or make their way onto shore. Wow. So they got to do that just to get onto shore, just to get onto the beach. And then, I guess because of regulations or wherever, they have to scale. They have to go up about 800 feet up above the onto a plateau area where they're setting up camp, and hauling up generators and gasoline and supplies and everything else is, well, I guess it just turned out to be a bigger challenge and for them. And the weather hasn't been great, even though it's the summer in Bouvet and this is the time of year to go. It's been really tough for these guys. And then on top of it, now you have a new boat. So if you've ever been following DXpeditions for the last, say, 10 years or so, there has been a boat that has been commonly heard and transporting, these DXpeditioners out to the islands or wherever they were setting up. And that was the Braveheart. Well, the owner, I think his name is Jolly Roger, who owned that boat, retired. And so the boat, he sold off the boat. So the Braveheart is not available. So now you have a new boat, new crew, and you're setting up on the toughest island in the world right now. And these poor guys are struggling. They're doing the best they can. And then on top of it, we got this feces show that's going on in the background, and everyone's losing their minds. And it's, I figured, okay, it's going to be our U.S. Brothers and sisters. No, it's a worldwide thing, and it's just compounding it. And unfortunately, it's going to be, they were hoping to do 200,000 contacts, and they had a pretty ambitious plan. We'll be lucky if they can do 20,000. And they're working on 2 stations right now instead of the 6 or 7 that they originally had planned. And so I feel for the guys. I know one of them. He's been a longtime friend who is on the island right now. And right now, I don't care about the contacts. I've heard them once so far on 15 meters, and it was at as we call ESP level. They were so low, I could hear voices, but our illustrious band cops and douchebags were drowning them out, so I couldn't hear them, and it was just a tough one. And I'm a little bummed. But I'm a little worried about the crew. I'd rather see them come back and, hey, It can be done another time, but it's really disappointing. But just disappointing in our brothers and sisters here on terra firma that they're being a-holes. It's just, I don't get it.
I was listening this morning on 160. I will preface this by 160 being called the Gentleman's Band. And I stumbled upon a conversation, 3 guys, maybe 4, and they're talking about Bouvet. And a couple of the comments I wrote down, and I was going to highlight them here as they were going and talking about, just like you talked, how we're augmenting, this thing's being augmented. You would figure it would be because the conditions could change at any moment. The weather's tough. Although it is summer, there's snow on the ground. There's friggin' penguins flying. Penguins are passing by like, what's up, dude? What y'all doing here? Kind of looking on their face. And they were talking about this intentional interference. And one of the quotes was, do they have nothing better to do? These are the people who are, kind of ruining this experience. And I feel, guys, like we're one of the stops, I think, new amateur radio operators or newer ham radio operators start to come around and, find their people and start to learn. And here we've got this huge event. Like we've been waiting years. If you've been in the game for a while, you've been waiting years. It's been postponed. They got to the door, had to turn around. Now this time they're there. And there's a little bit of action happening, but it's not quite what everyone thought. And it's hard enough. It's hard enough with these folks being on the island and getting there, for God's sake. So much money's wrapped up in this thing, I can't even imagine. The comments were, do they have nothing else to do, these people, right? And for me, I feel for the people. There's a sense of empathy. I think I'm hitting a certain age where, like, if that's all you've got to do, guy, I feel so bad for you. Like, I feel for you in your life, that's what you need to do. It's empathy, right? Sure, early on, I was like, I want to report you to the OOs. And back then it was like, FCC, I'm filing, and I did. Don't they have a life was another comment that stuck out. These guys were going round robin. And then it turned to, well, this is what happens when they dummy down the ham radio tests for licensing, right? Then we're going down this hole. I'm going to give it to you, Steve. I'm going to give it to you, Steve. They also criticized, and meanwhile, these same guys who I was with for a little while, the dumbing down of the ham radio thing is right. That's where we kind of jump off. And then they turn around, change the conversation. These same guys change the conversation and have a racist commentary about the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I was like, and I wanted to key up. A younger version of me might have said, you guys, you just were talking about dumbing down ham radio for what? Meanwhile, you come off with this racist commentary about the quarterback who happens to be a person of color. God forbid. You have to think about that and talk about that. Anywho, they had another good point outside of that trash that they, at Bouvet, they were going to run on 14105 FT8, which turns out to be during a RIDI contest. And they were like, man, we really should probably get that information. That's not going to be good. So anyway, all of that discussion, and I think we can open it up now, and I've got the Zoom room open. The link is in the description. I asked if you join that, please mute, and maybe we can bring some Q&A into the situation. Steve, there was a lot there that I just said and unpacked, but some of it was good and that I agreed with. They went off the track, whatever. And Scotty will bring you in too. Steve, what comes to mind with all that?
Oh, I mean, they were on point with a couple of items, but when they started going into the dumbing down stuff, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But that's not. No, this is a societal problem. It's my wife works at a high school, and she has made comments that since we've kind of gotten out of the last couple of years and the lockdowns and everything that we've gone back, the kids are coming back into the school and they're having a hard time readjusting, socializing. And I think that's kind of fallen into the general population. We've been kind of isolated for a while. Now we're coming back in. And I think it's just kind of fell into here in society. We have some people that are, I don't know what they get their kicks out of by jamming all this and causing all these problems, and getting their jollies off of it. What's there to gain? They don't have a life, and that's a pretty sad commentary. The other problem I personally have is with these band cops. People are, they get excited, they hear a DX station, they don't understand what this up is or what split is and how to operate split. And then you have these self-anointed people that come in here and start talking about, hey, he's operating split or he's listening up and everything. That's fine. But then they start throwing in their commentaries. Well, what kind of freaking idiot is that guy? He doesn't know this or that. And it's like, hey, you're now jamming the DX station. We can't hear them because have your monologue going off on what kind of operator someone is, and they don't understand. So it's like, why don't you take them up 5 or 10 kilohertz or down 5 or 10 kilohertz? Actually, take them down 5 or 10 kilohertz and educate them. And take the extra step. Nope, we got to sit there and blast, and it just piles on. It's just one thing after another, and then these are the same D-bags that will complain about, well, we can get a chance to work these guys in the operation, and it's this, we're circling the bowl, and we're just going down the drain right now, and somehow we got to stop it. And it's unfortunate. It is really, really unfortunate, but I don't get it. I don't understand it, and it's disheartening. And why can't Scotty make a contact and we be happy for him to work Bouvet and stuff like that? But no. Some douchebag has to come and jam it so that Scotty doesn't have a chance to work it, and that's the frustrating part.
Scotty, what's going on FT8? Like, I don't do digital. I don't know. I follow along what you and the others post in our digital section of Discord, but I don't know dick about this stuff. You seem to think that something improper was even happening on the digital side. What are they doing?
Oh man, it's a mess going on with the FT8, at least as far as everyone knows what's going on. They're supposed to be working, and they say they're working in what they call a Fox and Hound mode, which is a certain mode in FT8 that you can run. If you run in WSJTX software, it only allows the Fox, which would be them, to broadcast on or transmit on the even time slot, so the top of the minute and the 30 seconds, and you can only respond on the odds. And there's a ton of pirate stations on FT8 claiming to be Bouvet. A bunch of them they're all transmitting on the odd time slots. People are getting pissed off, saying that they're doing it wrong down there on Bouvet Island. They don't know what the hell they're doing, because they're supposed to be transmitting on evens, but everybody's on odds. And then you have a bunch of different pirate stations. You got terrible spots going on all the DX clusters, and there's they keep saying the official statement from the team down there is that we were running WSJTX, Fox and Hound, and anybody else is they're pirates, they're imposters, and then people are just don't believe it. They're like, well, no, they can't be. I know that for a fact that they're transmitting on the wrong time slot, and they don't know what they're doing down there with their system. Their computers are off by 15 seconds. Blah 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 blah, and everyone's all pissed off because they're not getting their logs uploaded daily and all this stuff. It's like, come on, what the hell is going on?
Like, are we such a society now?
Another thing, yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that the logs aren't getting uploaded in a timely fashion. But then the other complaints have been, well, we're getting pictures and videos and stuff like that, but that's from the boat. Guys, they're doing the uploading from the boat, not from the island. So they got to get the data up to the boat. But aside from that, the other thing I've been hearing, Scotty, was what is this? This other software that allows you to kind of do the odds and even.
Oh, yeah, the
another
multi-stream MSDX, I think it's called. You can do FT8 with this multi-stream software, and that allows you to you can kind of operate as Fox and Hound, but it allows you to transmit in either the even or the odd time slots, and then people are all up in arms over that. Well, they're using that; they can't be using WSJTX because of this, that, and the other. And there's a lot of disbelief, a lot of finger pointing, and it's like, guys, they're on a friggin' little rock with no internet access on the camp itself, and everyone's acting like that they should have rolled in there with their Airstream trailer and got their 60-foot towers up and their
and
multi-kilowatt generators, and it's like such like a disconnect about what they're doing and what the conditions are like. And even to get on the island, everyone's just like, oh, they totally underplanned and blah 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 blah. It's like,
so when did these guys think that this DXpedition owes them anything? The fact that they go there and we know about it is more than they need to give us to start with. The fact that there are photographs coming out of this remote island, you're lucky, man. Imagine living in 1945 and being on the radio and somebody somewhere, and you don't have the internet. You actually have to dial, and you don't have a scope to show you where the frequencies are. You got to chase, find. You may know about things happening because you read it in a magazine. You're not getting it instantaneously. So as much as I love technology, I think we are so dependent on the fact of technology, and then we can't stand the fact that we're not getting the shit we need
instantaneously.
Like, who told you they owe you anything? They don't owe you anything. They don't need to tell you where they're operating. They spent their money to go there. And like, I'm sure it looked like, I know y'all can't see me, or I'm like rocking the boat. I'm sure it sucked riding over there. Imagine paying that much money to ride to this place for hours, feeling like you're upside down. And then finally getting there, and the douchebags back home can't get enough. You're not doing enough for them. So when we go and do our DXpedition, wherever it is, Gummy Island, I think that's where we're working on something special for you guys. We're not telling you anything. No. We're not going to tell you. You're going to have to find us. And if you get a picture, good. Here's my Gordo.
The gummy loop at 5 watts, and so that's all you get.
That's all you're getting.
I don't know if it's a mixture of technology, this instantaneous need, but these folks, and I know they're not listening to us because I remember talking about people who do QRM years and years ago on this podcast. Shouldn't mention it. And I don't talk to QRMers on the air. I really don't. That is not great form. But here, it's our place, right? It's our hole in the wall. And they're not listening to us. They're not listening to us. They don't owe us anything. They've paid their money to be together with their team, to do it their way. And what you get is what you get. I can't say it any clearer than that. Steve, you're up.
Yeah, and they're doing the best they can. I mean, they're it's like, people, give them a break. They are fighting the elements. They are just trying to get something going. They're going to be more disappointed than when this is all said and done than everybody else here, and they're going to be coming back, and they're going to come back thinking they were a failure. No, they weren't. They succeeded. They got on the island. The last crew couldn't get on the island, but I mean, stuff happens, and we need to celebrate that they got there. They did the best they can with what they got. And is it perfect? No. The plans were great, and just stuff happens.
Dude, they've made over 9,000 QSOs. They've made 9,000 contacts. What, on 15 meters in FT8? Like, that's a win.
Basically, they're operating
you go to
from
a park, and it's a beautiful sunny day. Just give us 10.
They've been operating on 30 meters. They've been on, and basically 17 meters on FT8. And and that's been about it. They're doing CW and FT8, and then we got with a 100-watt radio with basically a wire antenna or a vertical, and they're dealing with 40, 60 mile an hour winds that are, and then the the weather's just not favorable. And then I think yesterday they ran out of fuel because they got to float. Think about what I said earlier. They float in the water to get to shore, and they got to do the same thing with everything else. All their supplies, they have to kind of float it from the Zodiac onto shore, and then they got to haul it up this 1,800 foot or 800 foot mountain or whatever it is to get it there. I mean, it's not a walk in the park. It's not when you just pull up and go, I'm going to do a photo operation.
Yeah, I'm going to just get 10 contacts and it's official, baby, and I'm leaving here.
And
that's the way people are acting. Like it's like I'm going to
9,000 contacts
to operate a POTA, out of the trunk of my car.
I might be inclined to go, Scotty, Steve, let's get the hell out of here. 9,000 Q, let's go. It's cold, right? Let's get out of here. Like,
I can't believe they didn't give me my cheddar biscuits at Red Lobster.
I need that broccoli and cheddar soup. Boy, that's going to be good. Anyway.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsinawire.com.